Hello and welcome back. Today we are going to do a little bit different of a project. We've done a lot of these, but I don't think we've ever put anything on our channel. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to change it up a little bit. We have got a sweatshirt, and it's just a plain sweatshirt, nothing to it. But I'm going to change that. We are going to take this sweatshirt and put embroidery on it, hand embroidery. And while we've done it before, we're going to do it a little different this time. We have got these sheets. They're called Stick and Stitch. We've got them here at the shop. And what we've done is we've found a quilt block that we liked. You can do this with anything. It doesn't have to be a quilt block. You can take a coloring sheet of a little picture or something your child drew. You can do a quilt block, you can do a flower, whatever you find that you want on your sweatshirt or your shirt. Then take that picture, save it to your computer, print it out. We printed it on this paper. It's real thin. One side is a paper and one side is like a wax paper. You're going to print it to where it prints on the paper side. So here's our block. It's an Ohio star. You know I love stars. So we've taken this Ohio star and printed it on this paper. Now we're going to put it on the sweatshirt. But before I do that, I'm going to take this with a pair of paper scissors. Whew, don't use your sewing scissors. And we're going to trim it down to about, you don't have to be exact, but maybe 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch away from that outside line. So we're going to trim all this off. It doesn't even have to be perfect or straight. Once we get this done, we'll put these to the side because we can still save these and use these for drawing a flower or something and putting it on another shirt, maybe a pocket area. But for this one, we're going to take this. We've got our shirt laid out. We are going to find the center of this sweatshirt minus the pocket. I'm not counting on the pocket because I want the design to be centered from here where the pocket starts to where the neckline is. So if I take that measurement, that is 13 inches. So the center of that is 6.5. Then I go this way from side to side, seam to seam is 23. So 11.5 will be my center this way. So now I've got my dot where that intersects. And I've made a little crosshatch, that purple line, to show me where that center is. The pin that I'm using is this pin that disappears with water. It's a Mark Be Gone. So now I've got my shirt flat on the table again. I'm going to take this paper, I'm going to rip off the back, not rip off, peel off the back, better word. Peel off the back, and what stays is this thin sheet of paper so you can see straight through it. It's like, almost like tissue paper. But you're going to take this, and what I do, you might find a different method that you prefer better, but I'm going to find the center of that. Some of them you like really need to measure the center. This one I don't. I can find the center of that square pretty easy. That center right there. Now I've marked that purple line, purple across right here and right here. So I'm just going to line them up. Put them right on top of each other. Make sure my square is straight, and then I'm going to press it down. And now it is stuck to my sweatshirt. All I need to do now is start stitching. So well, first things first, I got to pick my thread colors. So I've got this ready to go. I've got me a bunch of thread colors here that I like. I've got some more here that I can pick through. We've got a bunch of these pearl cotton embroidery threads here. And I've also got this DMC behind me, which has every color that DMC makes, variegated and not. All the colors they make are on that rack. So I can pick between either one of these sets. Now these that I'm using here, one strand here is like 3 of over the DMCs. So if I'm going to use this, I'm just taking it off of the spool and I'm using one piece like that. If I'm using these, they come 6 strands to a floss of the DMCs. I'll use 3. I'll cut it in half and I use half for one project and half for another, or one part and then use the other part later. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these this time. So I'm going to pick my colors and then I'm going to do put them on this shirt. Now this shirt, it's an Ohio Star. If you're familiar with that, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not, let me explain it. This center square right here needs to be one color. We're going to pretend like we're doing fabric on here. We're not doing fabric. We're doing just the thread. So I need to mimic the design of if I was doing fabric. If you're doing it with fabric, this is one color. These outside triangles outside that center square are another color. And then these out here are another color. So what I'm doing is I'm going to pick a color for this center square. I'm going to pick a color for these outside triangles. It's actually these two. And then I'm going to pick a color for these 4 here. And then I'm going to need an outline color. So I'm going to need 4 different colors to pick from. So I'm going to pick my colors and then we'll come back and we will get started stitching. I've picked my thread colors now, and like I said, you can use the DMC over here on this big round rack, or you can use any one of these spools like this. We've got a lot of these too, so either one, one's not any better than the other. They're just a little different. You just need one strand versus dividing the DMC thread in half to use half of the strand, the 3 instead of 6 of it. So this is what I've picked. I'm going to take this gray for my outside border. I'm going to take this one for my center square. The green will be this outer square, and then this hot pink, like fuchsia color, is going to be these triangles on the outer side. So I'm going to get started stitching, but I'm going to start on the outside. So I've got me a needle and I've got it threaded with a knot on the end. I used a big eye embroidery needle. We've got a bunch of those here at the shop too, but you definitely want the big eye so that you can get this thread through it. I'm going to take my hand in the middle of this sweatshirt, then I'm going to go up in this corner. I'm hoping you can see me pretty good. I'll find that corner, which is right there. Well, there. Then I'm going to pull it through. Then I'm going to take it about, not quite a 1/4 of an inch away from where I came up at. And I'm going to go back down. I'm going to come back about another 1/4 of an inch or so, maybe a little less, and come back up. And I can do those two in one pull of the thread. Then I'm going to go back and cover that spot right there. I'm going to go back up where I just came through a minute ago. I don't want to leave any openings. I wanted a continuous line. So I'm going to keep going till I find that spot, which is right there. Right there. Go up. And then I'm going to go down. And I can even come up like this if that's easier for you. To me, it's easier the other way, but you can do it this way. Pull that thread, and you'll see that line I'm making right here. You're just going to outline this whole line. So right here, where I'm up, I'm going to go about a 1/4 of an inch maybe, and go back down. I'm going to go about a 1/4 of an inch away from that. And I'm going to go back up. And this is what I'm doing all the way around this side. So when I get this outer border done, I'll come back and I'll show you what the next step is. One very important thing I forgot to tell you. Some people do it like this. Some people use a hoop. Sometimes I use one way, sometimes I use another. It just depends on what kind of mood I'm in that day. So one way is not right or wrong. You can do it however you feel more comfortable. But there's several different hoops. We have the screw-on type and we have the spring-loaded. This is a spring-loaded. So let me show you how they work. You'll take this and you'll put it down below. And this is the same way. Some people put this down below and the other on top. It's a preference thing. So I'm going to take this down below, and I've got it, if you could see, let me get this hood out of the way. The circle is right here where that hoop is. So I've got it to where I can stitch. Let me move it up just a little bit so I got a bigger stitch area. So now it's right here, and all this line right here I'll be able to stitch. So I want my thread inside of there. I'll take this and lay it on top of it. When it's on top, I'll squeeze it and then just push it down. Once I do that, it pops into place, and now it's loaded in there. It's straight. I don't have to worry about up and down. I can just do it easier this way. So then I'm going to go here. It's the same way. Then I'll come up. And I'm standing here at the cutting table showing you this. It's much easier if you're sitting like at the couch and relaxed rather than standing up. So it's easy once you get it going. You just gotta learn the method. This is just a straight line across. If y'all want, I can keep showing you different stitches. Like there's a really pretty leaf stitch. There's a lot of different ones, but this is this stitch, and this entire block will be done in this stitch. There's also another stitch that would be real pretty, but we'll get into that later. This is what we're going to do here on this project. So I'm going to keep going. When I get this outline done, I'll come back, we'll change colors, and we'll do something else. For this project, we've already outlined in the gray, and now we've got to use these colors for the inside. So we pulled our colors together and decided what we wanted to do. We thought about using the DMC thread, which you very well can use the DMC thread. The DMC thread, you need 3 strands for this project, or I use 3 strands for this project. So I would have to take the 6 strands and divide them in half into 3 strands, and then use the DMC threads. Perfectly fine, works fine. But I've chosen to use these pearl cotton threads instead, so I don't have to divide them into thirds. It's already the size I wanted it. So we've done the gray outline, and I've picked these 3 colors. I'm going to do the green inside square. Actually, I might do the blue inside square. I don't know, it'll be a decision at the end there when we decide. But I know I'm gonna do these outside pieces in this fuchsia looking color. And then these, one will be one way and one or the other. Not really sure yet. But I'm going to get started stitching it, and I will show you how I do that. And well, let me get all these out of the way and then we'll get started. Okay, to get started, I've got my thread and I've cut it about that long. I've knotted it at the end. I don't want it too terribly long, but I don't want it short enough where I have to rethread it all the time. So I'm going to do these hourglass pieces out here, which are really the flying geese. You'll see them later. But since there's not fabric, it's not going to be filled in all the colors. I'm just outlining them for this particular design. So I'm going to come in from the back side. And I am going to come up where that edge is right here, the corner of that line. Pull my needle up. Then I'm going to go just a little piece down. I don't want my stitches too big, but I don't want them tiny either. So I'll go maybe quite a 1/4 inch maybe. Then I'll come back up about that same distance away from that stitch, still on that same line, up, back down where I went up a minute ago. And basically all I'm doing is tracing this line. And I'm going to be tracing this triangle here and this triangle here. So I'm going to come up again right here, about 1/4 inch, maybe a little less from where I was a minute ago. Go down. And I'm just going to keep tracing this line, really. And I could, instead of going all the way under right now, just go ahead and pull my needle back up where it's going to be in a minute, which will be right about there, and pull it all through. And I am just going to keep doing this. And there's different kinds of hoops you can get. This particular hoop is a spring hoop, and I love it because it just clamps into place. There's the traditional kind of hoop too. We've got those too, but this is my favorite. And if you ever get off the line just a little bit, you'll see right here where I came in right here was just a little bit off that line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it back in just a little bit under that stitch, which will pull it back to the line. Can you see that? See where it pulled it back up there? So I am just going to keep doing this all the way around these flying geese. Do y'all know what happens when you're in your sewing room and you're crafting and your husband comes in and says he wants to go fishing and he wants you to go with him? Do you know what happens? Let me show you. But it doesn't stop me. I've tied off on the first color, or the second color really. The gray was the first color, then the pink was the second color. And I've tied off on the other color, and now I'm finishing it. So I'm just continuing with the same thing. I'm going down about 1/4 inch. And then I'll come up about 1/4 inch away on that same line. I'm doing the same thing all the way across all of these lines. I'll come back up where I went down. where I went up before. Back down again. Back up where I came up a minute ago. And then I'll go down in this corner. Then I'll flip it over. And I'll just slip it in enough to where I know it doesn't go through the front. And then I'll make a loop and go through that loop a couple of times. And tie a knot, and we are done. Had to go get my scissors. Then I'll cut that thread. Put the needle back with my stuff. Unspring this hoop. I always put it back together so I don't lose the pieces. And then that is it when it's done. And now you could do more to it. You could do more colors. You could do different stitches inside of these. But I don't want it. I'm just going to do the outline. So then I'm going to take this over to the sink and I will rinse it and it will be done. Sink. And I'm going to show you how to do it. You just take this piece. You'll turn your water on. You don't need a whole lot. And you could even dampen it with a rag. Do it that way, but this is easier to me. Then I'm just going to do this. Get it all wet. Now you see where it starts getting tacky because it's wet, but it's not gone yet. You can see a little bit of those bubbles kind of like right in here. You can see it. Okay, so I'm going to put some more water on it. It takes just a minute, but it will be gone. And if you wanted, you could always put it in the washing machine. So it is good and wet. And now it's starting to peel off. You see this gunk, it'll dissolve. So it's not going to hurt a washing machine or anything like that. And I'm just going to keep going. I could lay it in there and just soak it in the sink. But I don't want to do that. Now I'm going to let it sit for a minute, and all this stuff is starting to really disappear now. See? It's got the edges left, but that won't take long and it'll be gone, and I'll come back and show you. I wish I had let the camera keep going so that you could see, because literally, maybe a minute after I quit videoing and I said I'll let it sit, well, it came off. So it doesn't take long. There it is right there. This just has to dry now, but this is limitless on what you can do. We've got a couple other ones going as well, where we've got flowers here on the pocket, and we've got So Charming Quilt Shop written along this edge. I mean, we've got multiple ones going, but they're so fun. They're easy. There's something to do while you're watching TV or sitting in carpool line or just sitting on the front porch, whatever. But they're fun to do, they're easy to do, and you can do about anything. I hope you guys try this. I will be wearing this soon when it gets colder and when this one dries, of course. But anyway, this just gives you an idea of what you can do. Lots and lots of things to do with it. I hope you guys try it. If you do, let me know. I would be so excited to hear and to see what you guys are working on as well. Keep the pictures coming. Let me see what you're doing. Let everyone else see what you're doing. And until next time, You guys have a great afternoon and happy quilting.